It's time to jump into the luxury imports of Bowling Green, BMW, Mercedes, Sports Webb, with your host Brian Webb on ESPN Radio 102.7. Starring Vegas Frank with Against the Odds, brought to you by JBK Network Consulting. Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill presents WKU Lady Toppers golf coach and PGA teaching professional Adam Gary in Gary on the Green. The Good Fit with Jeremy Harris. Sports Web baseball analyst Danny Hartung from First Step Orthotics. WKU Sports Analysis with Garrett Browning, featuring the Culver's Player of the Week for high school athletics. And also brought to you in part by GC Cuts Gentleman's Choice Spa Salon. All phone interviews via the Linex of Bowling Green hotline. And now from ESPN Radio 102.7, here's your host, Brian Webb.
All right. Good times had by all. That's what we're forecasting on the Sports Web tonight. Got our regular crew who are illustrious and great at what they do. G-Man Garrett Browning, pushing the buttons. Danny Hartung, Major League Baseball. Myself, Brian Will. What's up?
Doing all right.
Doing great, man. But first of all, let's just bring in our Mac Daddy tonight.
Hell yeah.
And that's Randy Lee. What's up, Randy?
I have never been called a Mac Daddy.
Dude, that's pretty good.
Is Mac something to do with a computer?
I wish I had a Mac. Garrett's got a Mac. Yeah, he's hiding it from me. He's afraid I'm going to take it. Now, I'd like to have one because I keep buying these $280 computers like twice a year.
They last for 2 years.
If you're lucky, Danny, you'll get that out of them like a good pitcher. You'll get about 2 years out of them. We're going to dive in and talk some Major League Baseball with Randy here. Because, Randy, you've called a lot of baseball in your life.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I was in the minor leagues for a number of years and did some Major League spring training games with the Mets for a few years and a lot of college baseball over the years. Yeah.
How about them Mets, baby? 13-2 in the last 15 games. Man, they're coming back. They're only 2.5 games out of the wild card.
You know, I did not know that. The teams I work for was immediately following their World Series championship when you beat your Red Sox. So I was with that crew, and I'm telling you what, they were about the most difficult people to be around in my lifetime. And, about 10, 15 years ago, someone wrote a book about how nasty those guys were. I lived that life. It drove me out of pro baseball.
That became like a huge story this year because I think somebody else wrote another book about the same Mets squad you speak of.
You know, I told stories about this for years, and I don't know if people believe me, but if they read the book, they would have believed me. And I was only there during their Major League Spring Training games, broadcasting those games. I missed out on what they did during the regular season, but I'm telling you what, in Florida, they were just very difficult. They made my life very difficult, and those guys collectively, a lot of them made me. And I'm glad I did it now, but I left pro baseball because I just did not enjoy the experiences I had. I thought when I was going to get to call spring training Major League Baseball, maybe that'll open up something and this or that, and it was tough. I mean, it was tough.
I think it was
New York fans. They're not that brutal, are they?
It wasn't the fan. It wasn't the fans. It was the players and a little bit of the media.
Is that
too.
the Dykstra?
Oh, Lenny Dykstra.
And
Sid Fernandez.
Mookie Wilson.
I like Mookie.
Yeah.
Kevin Elster.
Elster.
Lenny Dykstra was
Kevin Mitchell.
Oh, mercy.
Keith Hernandez. Ron Darling. I mean, those guys were just absolute turds.
Were they?
They were turds. They were bad.
Ron Darling
and
Lenny Dykstra were the two that got into it this year because I think it was Lenny that came out with the book this year. It was his book, and 10 years ago there was some other book that was written.
Lenny's a pimp.
And he had a story about Ron Darling calling another player some like racial slur while at the plate. And then Ron Darling was like, no, Lenny Dykstra's a big fat liar. And it became this huge New York story this year.
There were a couple of guys on that team that were pretty neat, but Gary Carter was awesome.
Oh.
An awesome person, a great player, but he was so far above what most of those guys were in terms of just being a human being on that team. Oh, yeah. He stood out. He was such a great guy.
I did remember that team very well. And like I said, that was the Buckner.
Players used to get on him. The players used to get on Gary Carter. They hated him because he would sign autographs until everyone went home.
Yeah.
those other guys wouldn't do that, and they'd make him look bad. So Gary was not liked personally by that team simply because he was a good guy. Now, there were a couple other ones, but for the most part, I mean, they write books about how bad those guys were. They were bad.
They were. That was a bad citizen team. They really were. But
were those the best talented baseball players you ever saw, though?
No,
in person.
By absolutely,
who was the best?
Not even close.
Well, I mean, for whom I worked with, I mean, I never. That's the only major league team I ever worked with. So I would say yes, but they weren't the best. It wasn't the best major league team.
I mean, Gooden was on that squad too.
Yeah, and I liked him. He was quiet, and I like Darryl Strawberry. I thought Darryl was pretty. Darryl treated me really well, but some of those guys, man, I still have nightmares. I mean, my boss would tell me, "Okay, go out and get an interview with Lenny Dykstra." Like, oh my god! So I got to go out,
to do that.
And of course, you get them before they work out. Well, I don't have time. Then you wait the entire workout, and then after the workout, you're waiting for him. He goes, "So let me take a shower first," and then he said, "I don't have time." Then you leave. So you waited the entire day to get an interview with that punk. Yeah. And he stood you up 3 times.
I like it.
And you go back. You go back to the boss, and he goes, "You didn't get anything today?"
Yeah, this is my agenda, and
those 2 guys you mentioned, by the way, no deviated symptoms for either.
Yeah, the cocaine burned right through all of that stuff with this. But no, Lenny's not a very good citizen. He's been arrested many times for fraud and a lot of other stuff, and tax evasion and all that other good stuff. But
But that baseball, though.
But that's a great baseball player.
What about today's superstars? They just seem like 1,000% opposite the other way.
They really
None of them
are.
ever talk. None of them ever do anything.
You're like
really.
Mike Trout. This guy's the most unassuming person there is on earth. And, the guy goes out, does his job. You never hear him get in any trouble. No DUIs or punching out his old lady or anything
Upset
like that.
at the coach even.
He doesn't throw a ball over center field, so he gets traded the next day, and that's exactly why Trevor Bauer got traded. But no, Mike Trout he's the epitome of a baseball player right now, and you know what? You can't argue with it. You try to argue. Tell me I'm wrong. The guy's not the best player in baseball right now.
I agree.
Well,
year in and year out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for the last 5 years.
The poor Angels, they can't keep up with them. No, they're paying the wrong people.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. Their pitching is so subpar. You got your ace Tyler Skaggs there, who tries hard, and he's a good pitcher, but he's just, they're just, and you can't. Ohtani they'll love. They can't wait to have him back next year because he will throw next year. But he's done his part as far as being the DH and everything and playing a little outfield. But the thing about the California Angels, they're just, I think, 1 game under 500. And
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yes, the very same. Frank Drebin doing the umpiring there.
That's a great go-to. Is that over your head, Gary? You know what he's talking
Way
about?
over my head.
You never saw Police Story or Naked Gun. Watch Naked Gun Part 1.
I've seen all the other satirical ones. Airplane, throw them all at me.
If you haven't seen Naked Gun, you will stop laughing. But that had happened in the Angels Park when Reggie Jackson was there in the end of his career. So
you want to hear my run-in with Reggie?
I will.
Yeah,
this is great. So I'll make it quick. One night at Morton's, I knew he was coming. He's on the weekend quite often, but he's a car guy. He's like a collector of cars. He's got a warehouse full of cars. All right, so he's into it. Well, they were driving this not-so-great Mercedes, but it had, the rims were probably worth more than the car. So he comes rolling in, and I happened to see a spark fly at Morton's where we had a circle drive with an island underneath an awning. So you would pull up to the front door. So I see the sparks fly. I knew what happened, but it was Reggie. I didn't want to say anything, so I run up. Reggie's not driving. I open his door, his lady's door. He gets out. I was like, hey, Mr. October, man. He's like, you're too young, you know who I am. I was like, no, went through that whole spiel, but just, shook his hand, said thanks. I got to run in and actually take a picture. At Morton's Steakhouse, they put pictures on the wall, if you've ever been to a Morton's, of all the celebrities that dine, in city to city. So I was going to get to go on the wall. It was super nice. So he comes out, long story longer, and he looks at it, and he didn't know my name, but I was like, hey, I'm Bush, and I'll get you right up, big hitter. And I went and got him. I pulled him around, and he comes around the corner, and he's like, yeah, who do I talk to about my rim? I was like, oh, no. Just took a picture with the guy. I should have said something when he came in, but I figured he hit it so hard to throw sparks, they had to feel it happen, So he comes up, and I think at the end of the day, I think he was just giving me heck over it because he knew his guy driving did it. So I just kind of got into a little spat with Mr. October. Nice. And he ended up he gave me a 20. He said, would have been a 20, but give me 15 back. So I was like,
what?
Yeah. So I was like, look, I didn't run over your rim. I didn't hit it. Your guy kept coming in, hit it. But that's my Reggie story. But other than that, man, it was cool meeting.
What a tool.
Sounds like you're still a little upset over this meeting.
I don't harbor any feelings.
Stiffed you for 5 bows. Come on, man. That's ridiculous.
Folks, we're going to take a quick one here. Going to come back with Randy Lee, Danny Hartung, Garrett Browning, and myself. We'll talk a little toppers. Who knows where we'll go. And I've got a question to propose to all 3 of these guys that I'm chatting with. So don't go anywhere. And Randy Lee tonight, sponsored by Culver's Butter Burgers, Scottsville Road. Can't beat it. Can't beat us. Don't go anywhere. ESPN Radio 102.7.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. One of the most common and life-altering injuries that we see after a car crash is a herniated disc. Often it causes a lifetime of care, injections, and surgeries. A life where the most simple enjoyments become painful struggles. But insurance companies often refuse to pay for these injuries. They say disc herniation is no big deal, but we know the truth. We know how life-altering a disc herniation can be. We've won millions of dollars for clients with disc herniation because we know how devastating these injuries really are. If you have a herniated disc after a car crash, call us. You can reach us by dialing pound law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Pound law, that's all. If you're injured in a car crash or at work, call us. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Offices Bowling Green.
Culver's wouldn't be what it is today without the family farms that grow and produce the wholesome, delicious food we so proudly serve. From the cattle ranches of the Great Plains to the dairy farms of Wisconsin and south to Georgia's chicken country, it's important to us to make sure farm families across the nation clearly see how Culver's remains committed to sourcing the finest ingredients America's growers have to offer and how thankful we are for their hard work and dedication. Culver's, Scottsville Road in front of Greenwood High. Welcome to Delicious.
In stores now, Pabst Grippo's Beef Jerky. We have taken the great Pabst Beef Jerky and married it with the iconic Grippo's barbecue seasoning. This is a marriage made in beef jerky heaven. The thin cut of Pabst Beef Jerky is dusted to perfection with Grippo's seasoning. Once you try it, you will know no other beef jerky compares. So the next time you're headed on a road trip to the lake or your favorite golf course, be sure to have Pabst Beef Jerky fueling your outdoor lifestyle. PabstJerky.com. Ask for us at your local store.
It's boating season in Kentucky, and if you're looking to get on the water with a smile, Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center is the place to go. Check out the new Nitro Z20 for the ultimate bass getting experience. Or family fun in a Regency 230 DL3. You'll be the best parents on the lake. How about the best of both worlds in a 2019 Sun Tracker Bass Buggy 18 DLX? If you're needing fishing, tackle, boating accessories, or maybe a quality pre-owned boat, Renegade Marine has those too. So whether it's a Nitro, Sun Tracker, or Regency, Renegade Marine, your authorized Tracker Marine boat dealer, has your outdoor fun covered. 270-259-0001, renegademarine.net.
This is Mike Keith, voice of the Tennessee Titans, and you're listening to the Sports Web on ESPN Radio 102.7.
Oh, thanks for coming back, everybody. Randy Lee, voice, WKU Hilltoppers, in studio, along with Danny Hartung, the Limb, First Up Prosthetics and Orthotics, G-Man, Garrett Browning, and we got a new addition, the Chris Bratcher, who celebrating a nice day today. What's up, man?
Nobody knows me by Chris except my mom.
Christopher.
Yeah, I put a little hay in the barn over on the point so I come and hang out with y'all and Randy, mainly because Randy's here. I like Danny a lot, but, you know.
Hey, you
Randy's
see me
here.
enough. So.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's turning 47 on a Tuesday. Is
47? I wouldn't have guessed that.
Not especially remarkable. So
I would have guessed like 42.
Oh.
Yeah. Just because of maturity level.
You're all youngsters.
All right. Well, when we go test the gear, I'll have your check for you, Randy.
All right.
Well, these two guys get to share a lot of time together during fall sports, and no difference this year. And, you know, we're going to jump into some WKU Hilltopper talk. And we were talking off air about Dalvin Smith, Glasgow, Scotty getting moved to tight end. I like that idea, Randy. And then you're going to kind of enlighten us on who we're looking to be looking at as far as offensively, what Hilton's come up with, and who's going to be manning behind center there, those kind of things. And I want to get your thoughts about what they've put together in a short time with Hilton being here, and us guys will love chiming in.
All right. Well, it's a system. He was the coordinator under Jeff Brom, so you'll see the system that we all loved during Jeff's years. Now, we don't quite have all the players that those teams had. That many of those guys went to the NFL, and they were some of the greatest players the school has ever had. However, we'll see the system. We'll see some good players. Probably the best player on the team is actually an offensive lineman. They sort of get lost in the shuffle. I mean, I'm a big Forrest Lamp guy, and for years and years I told everyone how great Forrest was. They just sort of get lost in the shuffle. We have another offensive lineman this year named Miles Pate, who he'll be drafted, and I think he'll be our next NFL player. So I think it's all going to start up front in the offensive line. They're all back. They had one young man who played left tackle, got injured earlier in the year. He was out for the rest of the year. He's back. He's ready to go. So every single starter in the offensive line is back. And I think that's very important because I really think the quarterback situation, there are some guys there. It's not a Mike White. It's not a Brandon Dowdy. So you need to be really good up front if you're not going to be, great at quarterback. There's a box full of running backs, 5 or 6 deep there. All the receivers are back. We did lose a really good tight end, and Myquan Dean, I believe he's now with the Browns. So congratulations to Myquan. But we've got some tight ends that are good behind him, a couple of really good freshman tight ends that we're turning into tight end U. And I think we have some more really good tight ends, Fortenberry, and some youngsters who will play. So the offensive side of the ball, I feel like maybe just the biggest question mark is the quarterback situation. And every quarterback we have on the roster but one played here last year, so they all have the experience. Ty Story is the only one who did not, and he started about 8 or 9 games last year at Arkansas before transferring. They brought in some quarterbacks from other schools, and Ty felt like it was best for him to move on. So there's experience at quarterback, but from what I have seen so far, I would say that's probably not. To me, I'm no doubt. I think I know who's going to start, but I just in terms of the talent level, I'd say probably that's the position that maybe isn't where we needed to be, and all the other spots are maybe a little bit ahead of it right now.
I watched that Story kid down at Ole Miss when Ole Miss played Arkansas down there. Mm-hmm. Pretty good little player.
He's, we said little. He is a little guy. Yeah. He has a weird throwing motion. Yeah, I'm a little. He throws sort of like with his body.
Yeah, it's kind of
a
force.
But he's got quick feet. He does roll around and move a little bit. So he does give you some mobility. What are you laughing about, Brad? Did I already screw up this year?
No. I was going to ask you: is Story's throwing motion as ugly as Taco Fall's free throws?
No.
Pretty ugly.
Were you shocked by how tall he was in person? Because I know you probably did your research. You knew that they had a guy that was that size, but when you actually saw him, did it measure up?
Actually, I was not on that trip. I was with football, so I missed that. Right. So he looked big on TV, though.
Yeah, he does. That's a good point.
And he took a picture next to all the small little petite. That and also one of the sideline reporters for CBS, Bernstein, she's like 4'9", and she actually came up right below his hip.
For football this season, I'm glad you mentioned that tight end spot because getting back to Tyson Helton, kind of those Jeff Brom days, I always thought that the tight end was like a safety valve for all those great quarterbacks. I mean, Mike White and Brandon Dowdy, they always had a tight end that they could rely on. And you think that's going to be a big part of season one for Tyson Helton and staff?
Yeah, I think Fortenberry's going to be a really good tight end. He had a good year last year. You started off with Jack Doyle years ago. Then it was Tyler Higbee, and then it was Mitchell Henry, and then Myquan Dean. I mean, that's 4 straight tight ends now that have played in the NFL. That's so awesome. Fortenberry's a junior. He has 2 more years left here. I think he has a lot of potential, and there's one kid who really opened my eyes today. Now he's just a true freshman, but remember this name for 2021. What is his name? I'll think of Joshua Simon. Remember that name. Right now he's 6'5" and 240. He's a true freshman out of South Carolina. Wow. I like him a lot.
Great stuff. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Randy Lee, voice of the Hilltoppers here on the Sports Web. And real quick, right now underway, you can register online to get your kid into Warren County Youth Football coming up this fall. A lot of good times there. WCYFL.com. Get on there and register. Get your young one out there playing some football. Randy, first of all, I wanted to say it's pretty cool that Hartung's in here because you worked with the Cornhuskers for a while out there, and him being an Omaha guy, pretty cool to have you guys. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, we're talking about where his sister or mom lives, and you're just around the corner from where I live.
He's actually about 12 blocks from where my mom lives.
Exercising demons for Randy about the Nebraska broadcast, I'm sure. Were there any downsides to the Nebraska broadcast? I think you told me one time you guys played in Colorado at like 11 a.m. You had to get to like the press box by like 7, 6 a.m.
No, worse than that. We had we had a 5-hour pregame show. So for an
KFAB, was it KFAB?
Yeah, it was on all the network stations, but KFAB in Omaha. Yeah, so the game actually kicked off at 11 a.m. Central Time, but 10 a.m. Rocky Mountain time, which is where Boulder is at. So we had to be in. We went the night before to set up all the equipment, but we had to be in the press box at like 4:40 a.m. That was on Thanksgiving morning.
Shocker.
And let me tell you, the locals are not happy to be working and letting us in at that hour.
No, and Colorado.
Well, they didn't like us anyway.
Fans, they had so much animosity, and they always thought that we were their big rivals, but we didn't look at them as rivals. Oklahoma was our rival at the time. We kind of looked down on Colorado because they beat us a couple times. Who cares? But we came out with holes in our tires and beers dumped on us because they used to sell beer at Coors Field there. But it was ridiculous. But that was the only college at the time that could sell beer, and I wish they wouldn't have because it was a brutal mess.
I mean, I tell you, I hate to switch gears, but we got you in here for a limited time, Randy, and I want to get as much as I can out of you, Hilltopper-wise.
Are you using me?
I'm using you a little bit, but we're going to talk some business later, so you'll get something out of this, I promise. But I wanted to ask you.
I already got a gift.
Yeah, that's true. He got a can opener.
I've never had a gift for showing up on a show before.
Budweiser. But no, what I wanted to tell you was, first of all, we had some news with Tulu here lately, but I would really like to talk about this, the whole transfer portal and all those things. I mean, there's mixed emotions about all this stuff, but you kind of take us through what's going on with Stansbury and the future of the Hilltopper basketball.
Well, Tolu was at the time, it was a surprise to me, Tolu Smith, but once he announced that he was going to enter the portal, then the story started emerging that apparently he had told more than a player or two that if Charles Bassey decided not to go to the NBA, then he was not going to come. Then Tolu was going to leave the program. I don't think it has anything to do with his person. He not liking Charles. He just wanted playing time. So apparently they talked him out of it at that point in time. But he's certainly back on the portal and receiving, from what I gather, a lot of big schools have shown a lot of interest in him. So he will be playing at a school at a major conference for sure. And that's a loss. Now, the other guys who left on their own or, were sort of urged to leave because it's maybe better off for them, I don't think, hurt the program too much or at all. But I think the Tolu Smith departure could hurt the team, especially if Charles goes down with an injury or gets in foul trouble or because of right now, Mustafa Jean, who was, let's face it, Mustafa was not a great player, but he was a big body. He's going to give you some minutes. He decided to leave so he could play somewhere. So right now, your backup center is a freshman. Now, I like him a lot, but that's who your backup center is. And Kozart's a great shot blocker. He's about 6'7.5". Arms hang down around his ankle bones. So he's got these really long arms, looks like a 7-footer with his wingspan. He'll help us out this year. I mean, he's a pretty good shooter from the free throw line area and blocks a lot of shots. But, having Tolu in there, I thought they were going to play them both at the same time. I don't know how much, but Charles expanding his game and maybe being a little bit more on the perimeter, than he was last year. I felt like they could both sort of fit in playing his own defense. And so, that will hurt the team. And what do I think of the portal? I think it's only fair. Unfortunately, I think there's too much of it. I don't think players show enough patience. But I think that's all. That all starts prior to them getting to college. I mean, I bet 40, maybe more than 40% of your basketball recruits now, when you recruit them, actually have played at more than one high school, or they played at a high school and then they went to a academy after that, or maybe they played at 2 or 3 different AAU teams. So they're used to bouncing around and going here and going there, and it looks better here, and it really has hurt the game. And, is it better off for the players? Probably for the majority of them, they go to a spot where it's better for them. But I don't know that it's, it's only fair. But they're so used to not staying at one place and getting through the tough times and, waiting for your opportunity, especially in basketball. Those days are over right now. Football and baseball, not so much, but a basketball player, no patience at all. And they mostly just move on.
Well, and I guess basketball is probably one of the bigger sports where you see freshmen come in and have bigger impacts compared to most of your other, baseball. And you see it in baseball and football, but in basketball more than any other, you see, the new guy, the 4-star recruit, the 5-star recruit, he's going to come in and he's going to play because, that's what the coach just spent 6 months in the offseason working on. Well, at Western, it's not necessarily a one and done always, but that top recruit, he's going to play. There's that pressure there.
Sure. At least the beauty of playing at a school like WKU is they'll play more than 1 or 2 or 3 years. A lot of them, they get pretty good graduates, don't they, as far as people doing the whole 4 years there?
You mean WKU?
Yes.
As good as anybody else, right?
For those who don't transfer, yeah.
Exactly.
But this really has gone back to Ken McDonald's second year. So this would have been, Darren's 708. It really started like in 2009. That 2009-10 team had a lot of transfers. So, people sort of got down on Ken for it. And then, Ray took over, and the same thing happened during Ray's tenure. A lot of transfers in and out, and same things happened with Rick. I mean, in and out. So I think it's a trend, and I do think we've been hit a little harder than a lot of schools. I mean, you lose 6 off last year's team. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Now, just talking about our in-state rivals like Murray State. They've been really good lately. They haven't lost a lot of transfers. Of course, I shouldn't. Belmont, right down the. Belmont. They never have a kid transfer in and out. So
Lipscomb as well.
Yeah,
Pedro Martinez would be the only one that I could think of. Who is now at Wesleyan.
Well, we're always going to have that, but I don't think anyone wants to see 6.
No, never.
So
6 a bunch, man. That's your bench.
Yeah, basically, yeah. That is your bench. So
but we're still deep. I mean, that's what's so cool about it.
Well,
we could be deeper though. Yeah, you're right. And we've got another situation in basketball where we have a point guard from Lipscomb.
Can't wait. Come on.
Well, right now
we
don't know yet because his waiver has not been officially approved by the NCAA. So if Cooper's ready to go, I mean, he's the leader this program needs right now. He's the leader on the court right now in scrimmages, and he has only been here since the summer. Wow. So he is a take charge kind of guy that we didn't have last year. We were a rudderless ship floating through the sea last year because we didn't have anyone who wanted to lead or could lead. This kid is a leader. So if we can get him that waiver approved, and it's nothing to do with grades, he's a great student, this or that, but he's transferring from Lipscomb, trying to not have to sit out a year because his coach left, and I guess there's another circumstance or two. So if they can get him, I really think we can have a very, very good season. If his waiver isn't approved, I think we can be good, but we're not going to be as good because you don't have that dude right in the middle, offensively and probably even more defensively, that can just absolutely get in some guy's grill and protect the front of the rim, not let penetration kill you, and shut down their high-scoring guard. We haven't had that kind of a defensive guard in a while, maybe since Derek Gordon, that could do it on a night-in and night-out basis. And I think he could be that kind of guy that can guard an Elmore and, really make him work for everything he's got are the two guns that UT San Antonio has.
Don't you put that Elmore evil on me. He's gone, Randy.
I don't want to hear about him anymore.
He's long gone.
Hey, John and I are Facebook friends. We're Facebook friends.
Great.
I admired his game. He was such a good kid to visit with before games. He'd always come over. Maybe he'd butter Hal and I up so we talk good about him. But,
Smart kid.
I didn't like him at all 2 years ago down in Texas in the tournament game where he single-handedly beat us. But other than that, I liked him.
The Coach Combs, Warren East basketball. We do Warren East here on the station. I get a call of their games. He's a big D'Antoni guy. So he goes to all the Marshall camps, and he told me a story about watching John Elmore just throw up threes behind his head and literally make him like swish after swish, and just look at all the people in attendance like, "Hey, how's it going?" That's how it happens, Randy. Did you see any John Elmore folklore stories like that?
I didn't see any. I heard a lot. He was. I was a year ahead of his father in high school. His father's name, by the way, was Gay Elmore. Heck of a player.
Gay Fokker?
Heck of a player. I think he was the state player of the year. Went to VMI. Well, for whatever reason, John wasn't heavily recruited out of high school in West Virginia, so he goes to VMI, where his dad went, which is a military school, and he hated it. So he wanted to transfer to Marshall, and they wouldn't let him out of his offer. So he said, okay, I just quit school. So he quit VMI, goes to Marshall as a student, and supposedly D'Antoni didn't even know he was on campus or knew much about him because he just taken over the job. So he heard about this kid just lighting it up in intramurals and went to see him, and legend has it he scored over 100 points in a game in intramurals.
Wilt Chamberlain.
So they got him on the team, and the rest is history. He's would go down as probably at least one of the top 5 greatest players in school history at Marshall.
If I saw John Elmore in Preston, I'm gonna run.
yeah. You don't want to play any pickup ball with that guy. Hey, speaking of folklore, you alluded to there, Garrett. Real quick, we got 4 or 5 minutes left here. I want to go into this, and it's something everybody can chime in on. And Randy, you're a great NBA, especially old NBA.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, let me rephrase that. Classic NBA.
Okay.
So, we had this discussion on the golf course where all good discussions start. But we got to talking about, you hear LeBron, you hear, Jordan, and a very good argument there. But you never hear somebody bring up Magic Johnson in that argument.
My absolute favorite. We were Showtime Lakers all the way growing up.
There you go. A lot of people were.
That's Worthy.
You got James Worthy there with him and a bunch of other guys. And
Byron Scott.
What's that Nibson guy?
Norm Nixon?
Yeah, Nixon guy. He was good. I mean,
Kurt Rambis.
Yes, him too. But Jordan had Pippen and Kerr and some other guys.
And the Chief
Purdue. Yeah, they had Rodman there. I mean, it was those things to where. Do you guys? I want to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think Magic should be part of that conversation, being that his career ended at 30?
Absolutely. What he did in college and pros.
That's it.
What he did when they played Bird, Indiana State, Michigan State.
It's the greatest basketball game of all time, right?
Highest rated game.
Most beautiful game I've ever watched. I was a huge Bird fan at the time, but that was a fabulous game. But Magic had a lot more backup than Bird did during that Michigan
a lot
State
more
run.
Help on that team.
Oh, absolutely.
Larry had.
Yeah.
I think, to me, the underrated player in all of this, the 2 greatest players I've ever seen, I think, are Michael Jordan and Kareem. No one talks about Kareem when they talk about the greatest players of all time. Yeah. I mean, it's like Kareem.
Yeah, he didn't he lead for points of all time
at one point in time.
Yeah.
So I think to me there is Michael, there is Kareem, maybe LeBron, and then I think Larry and Magic are maybe just
4 and 5, 5 and 4.
Yeah.
Flip them
but for my money, it's Michael because I don't think he had the players around him the Magic had.
I agree.
And he won more titles.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
And there's
And
nobody.
he was a better defensive player. Michael was one of the greatest defensive players, as well as
And they never give him any credit for playing a defense.
It was all offense that everybody wanted to see out of him. But, and that makes a great point right there, because I feel the same way. And there's nobody in the world you want taking a last-second shot or anything that did Michael Jordan.
Last shot.
Last second shot, Larry.
Who do you want?
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. Right here, Larry Bird.
33.
I'd take Bird over Jordan.
Or Robert Ory if it's in the playoffs.
Robert Ory can do it.
What was it? Big Shot Robert or Big Shot Bob?
Big Shot Bob. Boy, I love that. I love those old Laker teams, man.
I was born in '96.
You missed a
YouTube.
You missed a lot of.
I've YouTubed a lot of it.
I gotta go. Give me this real quick. I'm surprised Randy didn't work in a Sidney Moncrief.
Oh my man.
Or downtown Freddie Brown.
I love Sidney.
Wes Unseld be your favorite.
Oh, my all-time favorite NBA player, Wes Unseld.
Guy walks out with a broken ankle to shoot the old free throw after he got fouled.
Speaking of broken ankles, Danny, you're kind of in that world, but Randy is also in that world because let's give you a plug here, Randy, because there's a lot of people listening here that are investors that need health insurance, and you're doing that and doing great at it.
Life insurance,
all those things, whole term. You're doing that, and you're over here at Modern Woodman, right? How can they get a hold of you, man?
615-982-5775. 615-982-5775. That's my appearance fee. I appreciate it.
Do not solicit with any WKU basketball topics. Please leave that for the professionals. There you go, Randy. I was leaving that for you.
Tore that up, didn't you?
Oh, Danny Hartung, it's been fun, man, seeing you guys. I wish we had more time to talk more about that Nebraska hookup, but that was pretty cool. Got to hear a lot of that off air. But Randy,
let's meet up in Omaha and go to Dinkers.
There you go. Is that like the place?
It's a hamburger joint.
Yeah, it's down in South Omaha. I used to play pool there. So.
Okay.
Oh, I know Dinkers well.
Were you a stick, Danny?
I used to play a little bit.
Yeah, you play any pool?
No, I'm not very good.
Yeah, I'm
Dinkers,
terrible.
South Omaha.
If anybody's listening, and wants to
Bud
play.
Olson's Bar.
If you could find a pool hall in Omaha where people never smoked before, I would have been a better player. But I can only go in for a few minutes. It's like, whoa.
Do you know what? All the bars are non-smoking there now. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dinkers is one of them. So.
Folks, it's been a blast. I want to extend thank you to Randy Lee, voice of Hilltoppers. Man, listen, there's nobody better at it. And anytime I'm watching a game and I'm at home, the TV sound goes down, the radio goes up, and it's Randy Lee.
Hey, are you going to help Brett with any of the volleyball, soccer, or any of those broadcasts on HSSN?
Will not be helping him in soccer. Love our coach, love our program, but I'm not qualified. I would always enjoy doing volleyball, but I don't believe that's in the plan.
In soccer, I'm always worried that I'd all of a sudden get like some British what a firecracker.
Now, if they were having tennis, I'd be fighting him for the broadcasting
you could
chair.
Definitely do. Great tennis.
I've always wanted to
Randy
do tennis.
Folks, we appreciate you listening to the Sports Web. Don't go anywhere because we're coming right back with Vegas Frank. Going to jump into some great discussions. What's on the board at Westgate Casino out there is what they're betting right now. And Danny Hartung, thank you. Gary Browning, thank you. Bratcher, thank you. Randy, always the door's always open, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Be right back. Sports Web, ESPN 102.7.
Hello, Vegas. Give me $100 on red.
$200 in chips, please.
Are you a professional?
What's your bet, sir?
A bet.
Hit me.
It's a bust.
Whoa! I am on fire.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
You're a winner!
Against the Odds with Vegas Frank is brought to you by JBK Network Consulting. JBK Network Consulting. We are IP everything. Working with complex organizations to achieve measurable business outcomes is what we do. Let Jim Grant and JBK Network Consulting go to work for you. Call 270-796-8935. Visit JBK Network Consulting at 1143 Fairway Place, Suite 105, and online at jbk.net.
Welcome back to the Sports Well. We've got him on the Linex hotline. Linex Bedliners, Roger Gina. Get over there and check him out. Wilbur Road, Porter Pike intersection. And on the Linex hotline is none other than Against the Odds, the premier segment, Sports Web. We've got him right here all the way from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Vegas Frank, what's up, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I'm doing real good. And it's a treat today because I got my youngest in, Mr. Blake New Mexico Webb, because I named him as I was going through New Mexico.
What's up?
What's up, man? Frank has held you before when you were probably 7 pounds or so. Ain't that right, buddy?
Yeah, but not in New Mexico. It was in Vegas when I held you. We weren't in New Mexico.
There is a Las Vegas, New Mexico, I think. So
there is. I've been there. It's a little different than Vegas. This Vegas. It's a little bit different.
That's great. Yeah, you'll have to tell us about that trip sometime. Man, we're gonna jump in and we're gonna talk. First of all, we're definitely gonna talk some National Football League. We're gonna touch on like top 2 out of each position during fantasy picks, which are right around the corner, Frank. And then we've got some more stuff to go over, and you're going to enlighten us with some win totals for the season on a few teams you've picked to talk about. Hopefully one of them is the Browns. We'll see what happens, but some great things coming, and it's already been an awesome show, and just about to get even better with Vegas Frank. Let's start. Let's see if is there any NBA we could start off with, Frank? I know it's a weird time of the year for that.
A little bit. Camp started yesterday afternoon for the Team USA as they're preparing for the World Cup next month. The FIBA World Cup takes place. Not a lot of superstar-type names that are going to be on that roster, but still a lot of notable names. Tatum, Kemba, those kind of guys, they'll be participating. They'll cut down the roster in another about 11 days. They'll cut the roster down to their 12 to 15 people. New coach, obviously, Popovich is going to be coaching Team USA going forward. And then they play, I think the World Cup this year takes place in China. It'll be about a month from now will be taking place. It's more of an exhibition than anything else. You know, they're going to qualify for the Olympics. We're not worried about Team USA qualifying for basketball. We're more concerned about soccer. But it's still fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. And no news is good news coming out of the NBA as far as injuries and other things. And we're getting ready for, it seems like you just have a little bit of a pause between the NBA seasons and they're right back at it. Kind of like hockey. But, man, NFL, there's a bigger gap and there's more time you have to wait, especially if you're a football nut like myself. It seems like forever. You can weave like an Afghan or a quilt or something in between the off season, and when keep yourself busy is the key, Frank. But Ezekiel Elliott, he's been keeping himself busy down south, and I don't know what's going on with that. And you seem to think that it may have percussions running throughout the NFL season for the Cowboys. What's your latest on Zeke?
Well, what we're hearing is that he's not really pushing to sign any contract. This is his 6th or 7th day, I believe, of padded practices that he won't be participating in. The schedule kind of works well for them because to start the season, they don't have a really challenging contest. I think through the first 3 weeks, playing the Giants, they play the Dolphins. I think maybe the Redskins are in there. But week 4, they'll be taking on the Saints right at the end of September. So they want to get something figured out. This is a situation now with Zeke is that they've got to get him signed. They've got to get him in there. The longer this goes, the worse it's going to look for all parties. I hate to say it because I don't want to make you upset, but the longer they wait, the harder it's going to be to kind of turn everybody around. If he stays away from the team going into 6-8 weeks, if he misses a season, similar to what Le'Veon Bell did last year, I don't think you'll see Zeke play for the Cowboys again.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with you. If he's absent right now and this year, Jerry's not. There's not going to be any more Zeke as far as the Cowboy goes. And you know what though? If that does happen, we're gonna get something really good in return, I would say, as far as a trade situation.
No, I agree with you, and it's no coincidence that Alfred Morris last week. I mean, obviously he's no replacement for Zeke, but he knows the system. He's familiar with the system. He was really close to signing with the Saints last weekend, and when they knew about this about 10 days ago, they knew that there was a chance that Zeke was going to be doing this. They didn't know he was going to have a training camp in Cabo San Lucas, but they knew he was going to leave. They brought Alfred Morris in because Alfred Morris was going to sign with the Saints, and they said we got to have a guy that's here that's going to be familiar with the system. They're going to kind of do a running back by committee type of thing with the Cowboys. It looks at this point, at least for the opener when they play the Giants, that Zeke probably will not be there.
Yeah, I mean I think that's pretty evident at this point. Hopefully something will happen and everybody will get on the same page, but it doesn't look like it's going to be very promising for my Cowboys
we don't want to start the season off with no Zeke. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean we got some good players, but I mean you really got to have that ground game, and I just don't think Alfred Morris can get it done, and I'm not sure about anybody on the committee that can get it done. But all right, moving on. Real quick, I'd like to hear from Blake Webb on the Vikings and what they've been doing in the offseason to get ready and what he thinks about their future. Blake, what are you hearing coming out of the Vikings camp?
I mean, I haven't really been paying attention. The last thing I know too much about was the draft, though, but that's about it.
You liked their draft, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Thought they did all right?
First pick was a lineman, which is good. That's what we need, so.
Well, I mean, I asked you this. We won't spend a lot of time on the Vikings since you're not real up on what's going on. What do you think about the Cousins trade after seeing a season come together? How are you still feeling about that?
I mean, I like Kirk Cousins. Keenum was fine for us, but I mean, it doesn't really look like he's doing too much anymore. So, I guess it all worked out in the end. Just give it some time.
So maybe you did come out, as far as the trade goes, you came out on top, but. Do you think Cousins is going to be able to get the Vikings to the playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, the chemistry should be better, plus the line, again, the line's way better. We picked up a new tight end, and our receiving core is still pretty decent.
And you already got Rudolph, who's great.
Yeah.
Well, all right, man. So win-losses, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. That'll be our segue into it. Win-losses, what do you think your outlook for the Vikings is end of the season?
As far as record?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully 10 or 11 games.
So 11-5 would be like top pinnacle for you? You like that? That would
Good
probably
record.
get you into a wild card?
Yeah.
Nice. Frank, what do you got for me on some of these win-loss totals, man?
I'm kind of looking at the two teams that would look like co-favorites, that team that put up that video game display on Monday night last year, the Chiefs and the Rams. Both projected about 10.5 wins for the over-under. We're going over on both. You're not going to get, great odds with investing in either one of those sides, but those are two teams that we look at. They think they're going to be successful. They're probably both going to win their division, and I think 11 wins is about where they're going to be at, probably pushing closer to 12. Again, depends on how the schedule breaks. They're both going to be playing first-place schedules as well, so that's always going to be a factor. But you look at those two teams, they look to be the most stable in their respective divisions. I think the AFC West could be really brutal, minus the Chargers as far as challenging the Chiefs. So I would say the Chiefs are going to set themselves apart. And then as far as the Rams go, a lot of teams making strides, but I don't see any team challenging them for that division. I think they're going to win the division as well.
I think we're going to see a lot of the same from the Rams. Don't you? Maybe even better.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that, all the stuff that we're talking about with Gurley, when he's ready to go, they're just going to kind of conserve, his touches and everything until, they really need him to produce. They're going, kind of the way that, similar to the way the Chargers treated LaDainian back in the day. They didn't let him play in preseason. He didn't dress in preseason. And I think it's going to be the same way that they approach this with Gurley. You hear about, like, arthritic knee, all those other nagging injuries. They're going to be very cautious about how they approach this. They want to make sure that he's 100% ready to go once the season starts. Gurley is a huge part of their offense.
Oh, humongous. And with a healthy Cooper Kupp, Jared Goff, I'm sorry, but I see him to be a Tom Brady-esque quarterback. I don't know that everybody else sees that, but I really believe that that's the kind of stuff he's got. And he's going to find longevity there as a Ram. So, we'll see what happens. The Raiders, you got... First of all, you told me that Carr... Tell everybody what you've heard on the streets out there.
So the rumor is that, and this is the second time that this has happened in this family, but John Gruden apparently is looking at houses, and his neighbor could be Derek Carr. They could be living in the houses next to each other or in the same street. They could be living in the same street.
Wow.
And actually, John Gruden's brother, Jay Gruden, used to live next door in this area in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. He used to live next door to RG3.
Wow.
They were next door neighbors as well. So I don't know if it was like advice, like you should live next door to your quarterback so you can bother him all the time. I don't know if that was the idea, but I got to think that it's going to be awkward when they have like a 2 or 3 game, streak where things are going not so well.
Exactly.
Getting the morning paper and kind of glancing over at somebody. That's got to be incredibly awkward.
Yeah, and it could run into a situation where, hey, your Lambo is parked in my yard. I want it out. It could be, your garbage get knocked over. You need to clean it up. All those neighborly things that happen. That makes it even more sticky.
No, you're absolutely right. would you want to live next door? I would want to live next door to my boss.
No. And I love my boss, but I don't want to live next door to him.
No, absolutely not.
That's like your sanctity, man. It's like your quiet place, you know?
You're absolutely right.
Frank, you're listening to Against the Odds, brought to you by JBK Network Consulting. Jim Grant, IP Everything. Get a hold of him over there. Any kind of networking. And I tell you what, these days, and I was talking to Jim last Friday, and we were talking about all these hackings and all these things that are, where they hold your files for ransom and you got to pay to get them back. I mean, there's cities that are having to comply with these bandits, and there's no catching them. And if you don't have protection, you can forget it, Frank. So get a hold of Jim Grant. That's what he does. So he can protect you from future headaches, man. And future headaches, as far as we know, we can talk a little bit about some other things that we had on the plate. I don't know how much UFC you got, but I want to propose a question, kind of in the theme to this show for me. And this came from a discussion on the golf course on a Sunday, where all great discussions start.
Sure.
Magic Johnson, as great as he was, and you and I have had the luxury of meeting Magic many times. Super nice guy, humongous guy. You just don't realize how big he is until you've seen him the first time. But I had the question asked that why is he not in the discussion with Jordan? Because this gentleman that brought it up, he says, I believe Magic was better than Jordan. And you know what? It made me start thinking about that, because you don't hear that a lot. All you hear is LeBron James and Jordan. That's the discussion. Who's the greatest? Who's the GOAT? I don't know that Magic doesn't fit in that. It definitely fit in that conversation.
I think he'd definitely be in conversation. First off, for everybody comparing LeBron and Michael Jordan, they are similar, I think, in number only. They're very different as far as the style of play. LeBron is 270 pounds. Okay, Michael Jordan is hitting outside shots, up and under shots. He's more a wing guard type of player, and the NBA is officiated a lot more differently. But speaking about Magic, you don't have to. From a Laker fan, I like Magic a lot more than I like Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan is an all time for me. He's the greatest of all time. Magic Johnson, his rookie year. Okay, to put things in perspective as far as a career accomplishments, his rookie year, winning an NBA championship, playing all 5 positions, being named Finals MVP, clinching that series back in 1980. That was way long ago. When he clinched that series, and he played all 5 positions, played center, in the series clinching game. That season, his teammate Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the regular season MVP, and he had the ankle injury and the knee problems. The Magic stepped up. He played all 5 positions in that final series. He had 9 finals appearances, 5 championships. I look at a guy like Magic, and I just think that we have a guy who played in 9 finals. He played 13 years.
Yeah.
He only played 13 seasons. Obviously had the health problems and everything.
Yeah.
That's a factor. But Michael Jordan, 6 finals appearances, 6 championships. There's not much comparison. I think about those finals types moments though, and I think about Michael Jordan when he played against the Blazers, their second championship during their first three-peat, and there's a sequence. It's in the second quarter. I still remember this. I'm just watching it right now. It was like a 6-minute sequence. He was hitting 3-pointers like the basket was a hula hoop.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And you're in awe of it. You're actually able to watch this. Michael Jordan did it better than anybody, in my opinion.
Really, really.
But Magic is phenomenal. But I would go MJ.
Let me ask you this. And Jordan played till what, 43, 44 years old, something like that?
But he had his second term. He had retired.
Played baseball. And
retired
then,
again, yeah. And then he played with the Wizards for those 3 years. So I think he was playing until he was about 40, 41, 42, something like that, yeah.
Magic's career ended at the age of 30. I'd give him another 8 seasons. You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this?
I do, and and again, there's a window for you to be able to compete at a high level and for you to be able to participate in a championship series. He got to play in 9 finals.
Yeah, well,
he probably doesn't regret how it went for him. But yeah, you are right. You build a different type of resume if you say you don't have the health problems and you play another 4 seasons, who knows what could have happened. But
that's where I'm going. So I mean, I want to put an asterisk by it as far as I'm concerned, but I will say Michael Jordan's the GOAT. I mean, I don't see how you can compare. Even though he wasn't a huge distributor of the ball, he didn't need to. I mean, a lot of those games, especially some of those championship games, if he hadn't have took the wheel, I mean, they may not have won. But I mean, you got a guy like Pippen next to you, makes you look pretty good, though.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and the 2 teams that he had 2 teams that both three-peated 2 years in between because he's doing his baseball experiment. He had his time where he wanted to play baseball, take some time away.
Yeah.
If he had been playing those 2 years,
You're right.
I mean, could he have won 8 straight?
Yeah, you're right. And the answer is probably yes. I mean, the answer is probably yes. I totally agree. Man, that's been a good discussion. Glad we had it. Last final thought here. Unless you got something else to cover, I wanted to say we're looking at probably, hopefully not, but maybe the last season, the last real productive season for one Tom Brady, one Drew Brees. I don't know if Drew, that was later on, or earlier on, but yesterday I think Brady signed a $23 million 2-year contract. Man, are these guys going to be able to play much longer, Frank?
I think when it's done, I think it's going to be like one day everything is going really well, and the next day it's like, oh well, he's not able to participate or play anymore. Yeah. We have got to appreciate for what it is, when we've got it. Because I think that all of a sudden it's just going to be over. I think this is Drew Brees' last season. Honestly, I think that this is going to be it because I think that he's ready to just kind of move on to other things. I think that you have a certain window to where you can participate. It seems like Brady's window is like a bay window in the backyard of somebody, but his window is probably a lot bigger than most because of the system and the production that they've had. But for Brees, I think back-to-back playoff losses has got to weigh heavily on them.
That does.
And I think that losing Mark Ingram in free agency is huge.
Oh, it's
a change of pace back.
It really is.
It's gonna be hard.
That's that's a great point. And I was thinking those lines, but not as clear as what you've just painted the picture at. One more from Blake Webb before we get out of here, Blake. Since you've been watching football and you started young because Daddy had you into it, you lived in Las Vegas until you were about 4. Who's your favorite quarterback from the football that you've watched in your lifetime? Who's the best? Who's the best since you've been watching football? Who have you seen the most out of?
I mean, can I just do favorite quarterback ever?
You can just do favorite quarterback.
I like Elway.
Oh, nice!
Wow, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Elway was great.
And Favre, too.
And Favre, yeah. See, man, they made a lasting impression on not only us, Frank, seeing their whole career, but these young guys who just saw a little tidbit of their career. It shows you the greatness of those two. Frank, always a pleasure, man. You got anything you want to drop on us before we get out of here?
Just good talking to you guys after all this time, Blake. It's good talking to you. We didn't speak much the last time, I saw you because you're, little
For the words I knew,
guy.
I guess.
That's right.
He couldn't put a sentence together there.
That's right. But we're looking forward to this UFC fight coming up. Habib, Dustin Poirier should be fun. It's going to be an earlier start because I think it's in Abu Dhabi, so it'll be like a breakfast and knees and elbows because it's going to be an early start.
I love it. We'll be watching for that. We'll touch on it again next week when we talk to Vegas Frank against the odds all the way from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Coming right back for Gary on the Green, ESPN 102.7.
You're playing golf and you're going to like it.
Time to go home there, boss. I can make it across. Well, then do it.
We got all of that.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me.
Knock it on. Let her rip.
It's in the hole. By the way, what did Mr. Webb shoot this morning?
It's time for Gary on the Green. Gary on the Green is brought to you by Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill on Old Louisville Road and online at bowlinggreenfireplace.com. Call 270-495-1131.
Gary on the Green, he's back. He's been indisposed, doing a lot of stuff that coaches do, and playing golf himself. On the Line X hotline, we've got him. Hey, what's up?
Not much. Just ready for the FedEx playoffs to start, trying to get to the race to the Tour Championship. So it's a fun time of year, and also a little Hilltopper golf happening up in Frankfurt today for the Kentucky Women's Open. Got 4 girls playing up there, so that'll be a good tournament. Hopefully they'll come out strong, and then we start school on the 26th. So it's it's a good time of year. I'm enjoying it.
It's all coming together, isn't it?
Yes, I'm super excited to see how we do this fall. Obviously, not losing anyone last year and having 2 new players join us this year, it should be a lot of fun. I think we're going to catch up with a lot of teams in Conference USA, so I'm really looking forward to it.
I think so too, and I don't want to jinx anything, but you've already had some unbelievable record-breaking seasons. I think this might be the best one ever. So that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is cool.
Let's talk. You alluded to this FedEx Cup playoffs. I mean, it is a little different this year, and some people don't like it. Some may like it. So where does Gary on the Green stand on this thing?
Man, I'm on the fence. That's not a very good answer, but it's going to be different. I guess I got to see how it plays out. But I understand on one side that they want the leader, the points leader, to have an advantage going into it, and then it's a little bit cleaner when you're watching it to understand what's going on, because whoever wins the Tour Championship will win the FedEx Cup. Since they're starting, basically what's happening is the point leader will start at 10 under par, and then a next group will start at 9, and then the next 5 will start at 8, and all the way down to the person that's the last qualifier in the Tour Championship will start at even par. So that's just where they tee off, and then they go play. So all the points and everything from the season basically just gives you a handicapped head start in the tournament. I don't know. It's going to be kind of weird, but everybody's going to know what's going on, and you'll be able to look at a leaderboard and know exactly where you stand and what you have to do to win the FedEx Cup now, instead of hope somebody doesn't tie for 5th or whatever to end up winning. But it's going to be interesting this year. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's always interesting when anything new is implemented, and we'll see what the backlash, if any, is. But I don't know. But we also talked a little bit off air about Tiger being the. Well, just go with that thought, because I hadn't even thought of that yet, and you kind of blew my mind with that.
Yeah, so it's a President's Cup year, and he's been named the captain of the President's Cup. So I guess the question is does he pick himself? What do you think? Do you think he's in the top 12 players of the United States? I mean, he won the Masters.
He did win the Masters. I mean, here's the thing. 10 years ago, if somebody would have asked us, is Tiger in the top 12, we would have laughed at him, you know? Now it's a little different with everything and all the history that we have between then and now. I still think if he's sleeping on the couch and gets up and somebody calls him to go play golf, he's in the top 12. I mean, that's just me. I'm not saying he's going to play that well, but yes, I think he's in the top 12 in the world. I do.
I agree with you. I think so too, but as a captain, do you have time to play and captain at the same time? And
great point. I don't know.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Yeah, it's a really tough one.
I mean, if you get a captain's assistant, like say Adam Gary out there, and you are doing like the logistics and the planning and the strategizing, and he got to play, I would say yes. But without an assistant and him being no, I just don't see how you can do both. I say I would abstain.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning toward he's not going to pick himself, but I don't know. I think if he did pick himself, a lot of people would be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Would question it.
Other than the Tiger haters,
yeah, that's true. There's Tiger haters, but I think that no one would blame him. They'd be like, yeah, I mean, obviously he's a major champion and has experience, and so maybe it's one of those things that he picks himself and he doesn't play every session, and he maybe plays one and lets the vice captains take over in the other ones and see how it goes. So
I just know that I wouldn't be the guy to tell Tiger he's not good enough.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't want that job, man. All right, golf tip, and this is one we've never hit you with, Adam, and I never even preempt him. I don't tell him what I'm going to ask him 90% of the time, but this one, let's say that we're going to play, and I got a buddy that this just happened to last week playing mini tours. He told me about it. You go to you get a call and you've got to play a golf course for a qualifier that you've never seen, didn't know existed. You're pulling up in the parking lot. Your Wi-Fi's been out for 3 days. You can't even get online to look at it. When you show up in the parking lot, how do you play that golf course without ever seeing it? What's a good Gary tip to get yourself ready if you got an hour and a half before your round and you've never seen it before?
True. Well, yeah, like you said, if you don't have, I mean, obviously if you have access to yardage books and and like things that I do with our golf team, I'll even get on Google Earth and look up some satellite photos of golf courses and map out some different things. But if you're not able to do that, I mean, obviously nowadays with the rangefinders, gosh, I mean, that's such a valuable tool. I mean, I did that a few times when I was playing. Even when you go to a Monday qualifier and you just came from a tournament the previous week, and you just tee it up and see how many birdies you can make. But I think a lot of times it's just obviously you can't play as aggressive. You're not trying to go over corners and hit it over trees. You just hit it where you can see it and kind of play it as it's laid out, even if there might be a better option after you've gone through it. But I think it's just play it as it's laid out. You obviously know some of the tricks when architects are building golf courses on par fives are going to give you more room at 100 yards than they will closer to the green. So if you're going to pick your layup spots, you always know that architects kind of have certain tendencies to do as they lay out a golf course. So, no, I think it's obviously hard going in blind, but I spend most of my time just warming up, chipping, and putting, and really rely on the rangefinders. That's how
Nailed it, man. That's exactly what I was looking for. And you said it best. You know, pick the spots. Just do what you can see, and you know, after you play that golf course, you're going to have a lot more understanding around two of what you're going to be able to do, implementing your game into it. You know what I mean? Interjecting your game into what fits on that golf course. Gary on the green, nobody does it better, man. Thank you. Great to have you back. I was going to talk to you about the wild weather Kentucky Open, but we'll save that for another day.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Sports Web, ESPN 1027.